make
How to conduct a buyer's consultation. My name is Kenny Hahn. This was my third year in real estate. I started with Legacy Real Estate and then joined Petersen Realty team here with Yvette at Keller Williams Santa Clara Valley. Big reason for me joining the brokerage is the growth and value that KW brings to the table. This is my first year as part of the ALC Council, and I was also given 2 awards this year for 2020, Growth Achievement Award for both closed units and closed volume.
Fantastic. And I'm Yvette Petersen. I came on board here October 2018. Brian Lee, Kenny Hahn came over with me at the same time, and we became a team, Petersen Realty team. And we've just been growing ever since then. A couple things about me. I am also an investor here over at Santa Clara Valley. And I am also on the ALC Culture Committee. And I was given an award this year also, 2020 award. And it basically was a triple platinum award, which means that I still haven't caught Alan Wang. That's what it means. So that's all it means. I haven't caught Alan Wang. So he's still ahead of me. So let's get rolling, Kenny.
Thanks, Yvette. So we'll be together for approximately 2 hours today, and we'll very much like this to be an interactive session. And how have you guys Ignite classes been so far? Please give us a virtual thumbs up if you've been enjoying them.
I'm trying to look at the site, if I can get a site up. Well, Brian's been enjoying it.
Just Brian?
Just Brian and
no one
Bob
else
now have been enjoying it.
Okay.
Everybody else has been struggling with it. Okay.
Well, thanks for sharing. I hope all of you have your participation guide and are ready to follow along. The
other thing that we just want to kind of check in on is maybe we could hear from a few people. I'd love to hear from, because Nick, you show up on my screen. Nick, why don't you tell us this morning just what you're grateful for? That's Nick Rowe.
I am grateful for a quick commute this morning. There was not a lot of traffic.
That's great. Where were you coming from?
I'm based in Belmont, and right now I'm down here in San Jose at the office. So when there is traffic, it can make a big difference.
Yeah. Brian comes from Belmont. I'm from Menlo Park, so not quite as far as you're coming from, but yeah, he gets what you're talking about as well. I'm going to pick another person here that I've never heard from. How about Thomas Nguyen? Thomas, what are you grateful for? You're on mute, Thomas.
Yes, I'm a newer. I don't have the license yet, but I attend for the training. I'm classes KW let me attend it.
Wonderful.
And,
well, we're happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really appreciated everybody here. Sharing experience, sharing your career. That I learned a lot.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, feel free to ask questions as we go along here. We appreciate you being with us. And then I'm also going to ask Chloe. Chloe, what are you grateful for this morning? Chloe's on mute.
I'm probably grateful for the opportunity to listen.
Wow, that's a gift. Not a lot of people do enough of that, but if you can do that as a buyer's agent and a listing agent, your clients are going to love you. Okay, so today our focus is going to be on using the buyer consultation to get a signed buyer representation agreement, which is the first step to actually closing with a buyer and getting paid, right? You got to first secure the buyer. Most of us, I don't think, use a buyer's representation agreement. Could you do me a favor? If you use a buyer's representation agreement, could you just give us a thumbs up so that we can see it Does everybody know how to get to the thumbs up? If you could do that, and then Brian, could you tell us if you see how many thumbs up you see?
I do not see any thumbs up.
I do. I
Oh,
see
one.
2,
Yeah,
3.
Sherry,
I see 2. See Nancy.
Nancy, Sherry,
Wow.
Chloe.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I will tell you, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed because I do not, but I am going to try and do that more and more. And the reason why I don't is because most of the people I work with come to me referred from a close friend. And so there's a certain amount of trust there already, or from a past client. The majority of my business, like I've said before, it is, you know, is from my SOI. And Kenny, I think it's the same for you.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, so what I do is I look my clients in the eye. I tell them I work on trust. And if you're ever unhappy with anything I'm doing, I'd appreciate you letting me know so that I have the opportunity to correct it. So I'm really straightforward with people and really, you know, direct with them about it. And I also let them know if at any point they feel as if this is not working, let's sit down and have a conversation. And I promise that I won't make it difficult for you to choose another path. KW would prefer, sometimes if you are, then I really advise that you get the buyer's representation agreement signed. So this module is going to actually be paired with using the buyer's presentation as well. So let's get rolling. My screen's not moving, Kenny. There we go.
Thanks, Ed. So on the screen, you can see that we are now working on number 3, under growing your business. The goal of our time together is to learn how to prepare and deliver a buyer's presentation and get a signed buyer representation agreement. Now, why is it important to get a signed buyer representation agreement before working with the buyer? Anyone?
That's all.
Bob, do you have an answer?
Nobody else. Colin, Brian.
I think that mainly it's an ability to make sure that the communication and agreement is clear.
It shows
Brian?
professionalism as well, that you're committed to your client and you expect your client also to show the same amount of commitment that you're in for the long haul. You're going to work extremely hard for your client with the signed buyer agreement.
Thanks, Sherry. One more?
There's one in the chat. Rick Medina says, so they don't go to no one else and cheat on you.
Exactly. Man, I hate a cheating boyfriend. Or girlfriend.
Thanks, Rick. That's a perfect segue. Just keep in mind, without a signed buyer's representation agreement, you could spend a significant amount of time working with the buyer who ultimately uses another agent to purchase a home. And then for those of you who have your participation guide, please turn to page 5. And what are some of the goals of the buyer's consultation appointment? Anyone?
Just set expectations.
What was that?
Set expectations.
Yes. Keep going.
Anyone
What
else? Remember, guys, today is supposed to be going to be interactive session.
We're going to start calling on you if we don't hear from you. We have no problem calling on you.
And there's 18 participants that will more than willing to be calling on throughout the entire session.
You know, there's no wrong answers. I mean, yeah, there are some wrong answers, but there are wrong answers, but we're going to grow from it, okay? So don't sweat it. Let's not worry about trying to be perfect here in this process. Lupita.
Hi, Yvette. Good morning.
Good morning. Ask the question of her.
Lupita, what are some of the goals for the buyer's consultation appointment?
we set expectations. They know how we work and how we can serve them at the best and what their expectations are and how we can meet those.
Very good.
And then Yvette, could I also share on, the one thing that was really important when you helped me out in the beginning was also be a master of questions
Oh, yeah,
during the buyer's consultation.
yeah.
And then, if that's something that we can do, that could also be a huge win, for your buyers and your clients.
You want to win with your buyers and your sellers, be a master of questions. Know how to
Understand their
ask the right
needs.
questions.
Could that be another one?
What was that?
Understand their needs, what they're looking for, and what they expect from each other, I guess, from the relationship we're gonna have with them.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I mean, the buyer's consultation, you guys hit on most points. Buyer's consultation is your opportunity to establish a long-term relationship with the buyer. And during the appointment, your goals are to discover the wants, needs, and value of the buyer, deliver your value proposition, and set expectations for how you will work with the buyer to find their dream home. And of course, close with a signed buyer representation agreement.
Absolutely. So let me see if I can move this thing along here. Yeah, there it is. So we decided to insert the buyer lead sheet because they always tell us to discuss the buyer lead sheet, but there isn't one available. This one actually is in the files for the KW's Silicon City and Santa Clara Valley Connect Facebook page. Look under files and you can see this and you can pull this down. So, a buyer is someone who is able, ready, and willing to purchase your home, but you really have to start with the right questions again. So if you're working with somebody that you don't know at all, then you want to say you got somebody from, I don't know, a Facebook command lead or something like that. Back in the old days, ancient days, we used to have this thing called an open house. And you could get information from that too. You would get the name, the email, the street, all the information you see here. And then you could ask them pre-qualifying questions. This is all helpful because you are going to go on to the appointment, right? And you need this information for the appointment. I need to minimize my screen. Sorry, Kenny.
Sure.
I need to minimize things a little bit here. So a buyer is someone who is, did I just knock my screen out?
You're on the start the appointment.
Oh, I know, but my screen just went. Sorry, hold on. There we go. It just popped up in front of it. So a buyer is someone who is able, ready, and willing to purchase a new home. They could be under contract in a matter of weeks. In this particular market, it's more like a couple of months, unless your buyers are willing to listen to you and come up on the price that they need to be at, right, to purchase a new home. They also, we want to use the buyer lead sheet from the toolkit, and that's the one I just showed you to classify the buyers, because then you have a better idea of who's actually buying. Sometimes it's not the person you're talking to is the only person that should be there. Maybe it's mom and dad are going to be living in the house along with the husband and wife and a child. It could be multi-generational. And what's important is to understand what the needs are for the whole family, not just for the one person who took your call. That's important to remember. You know, now that you've cultivated the lead, you're gonna go for it. You're gonna go for that appointment. You're gonna get rolling. So once you have that buyer, it's time to close on the appointment. At this time, you want to be able to add or update this opportunity to your command. So just remember, don't just talk to them, put it in command, right? Build good habits. I did not build good habits up front. I'm going to be extremely transparent about it. And I think you end up doing twice the work when you don't do that. So, and also remember that the safest option to doing a buyer's consultation, if you're going to do it in person, is in the office, in a conference room, in your market center somewhere where people can look out for you and make sure that you're safe. Most of us do it via Zoom today, so most of us are pretty safe doing it that way.
And the goal of the buyer's consultation appointment is a signed buyer's agreement. Setting the tone for closing the buyer's agreement begins with the invitation to meet for the buyer consultation. Everyone, please turn to page 14 in the elemental script book. Here I would encourage you to get a script partner and practice this week on setting the appointments.
Yeah, we're not going to actually turn to the script book at all today. We're not going to use the script book. We're going to actually do something else a little bit more unique at the end.
And the buyer's presentation is a tool to help you get to know the values, wants, and needs of the buyer during a buyer consultation appointment.
So let's look a little bit at command, right? So command, you either love it or hate it or have a little bit of frustration with it, or you're just delighted. So if you're using command a lot, then I think you become quite familiar with it and it's not as big of a struggle. I am the worst person on the team about using command. And part of it is that I am undisciplined. I want to give you all the excuses. I'm busy and this and that. The reality is I'm undisciplined when it comes to that activity. And I pay for it. The most disciplined person on our team about it is Brian. No surprise there because Brian is also on our tech committee over here at Santa Clara Valley. And he's the guru on the team when it comes to command. So we always turn to him. So he actually, I've watched his productivity this year in terms of his appointments and his, knowledge on where his clients are at. And it's there because he's using command. So I really encourage you to use command. So there's a section in command called designs, and it provides templates for the buyer's presentation that are fully customizable to match your value proposition and the buyer that you're meeting with, okay? So the buyer's presentation, remember, is going to be in the toolkit, and it's a tool to guide the conversation and provide the client with a tangible demonstration of your expertise as a real estate agent. So I know when I say expertise, the new people are just like, oh, but I don't have any expertise. Yes, you do. You came from another industry. You came from something. You can communicate. If you came from being a mom or a stay-at-home dad, then you are master communicators. Come on. You are people who are great negotiators. So don't tell me you don't have any experience. I'm not buying it. You just have to know how to be a wordsmith to bring it into your value proposition. And believe me, you've got a ton of people around here always willing to help you craft your presentations if you need it. You always start with your team leaders. That is Bob Stoltz for Santa Clara Valley, and it is Hilda Ramirez over at Silicon City. They're always willing to help. I've never gone to either one of them where they haven't been willing to help. So I really want you, though, to make sure that you have a good value proposition. I taught the class on that, and it's important because if you can convey that, people believe you based on your presence. So if you don't come across as if you know what you're doing and know what you're saying, then people might have some pause with you. So this is why script practice is important. This is why practicing over and over. I don't care if it's with your sister, your brother, your boyfriend, your husband. My husband got so sick and tired of hearing me practice, but he willingly did it. I know he was sick and tired of it. He was just being sweet. But during this module, again, we're also going to discuss the purpose of each section of the buyer's presentation. We're going to break it down. We have additional resources for help with command and design specific to your market center. I will tell you that the presentation that I saw in command was very basic. And actually, if you're really a good communicator, you could probably get away with it, but I prefer the Michael Lewis. We have our own, and so at the very end, Kenny, Brian, and I will walk you through our own presentation that we do. And if you guys want a copy of it, we'll give it to you. We don't care. We'll gladly share that with you. And so, Kenny, I believe I'm going to turn the next page over to you.
Great. Each section of the buyer's presentation helps you connect with the buyer and build confidence in your value proposition. You can make changes to presentation, including adding, deleting, and recording the sections, or reordering the sections. Now, what resources do we have to help you prepare the buyer's presentation? Anyone? Brian?
What resources do you have to help you prepare the buyer's presentation?
For me personally, I have my team as a resource. I have a coach in Mark Burstein, who is an invaluable resource for any types of questions, whether it's looking for home buyers, sellers, even lead generation, and a mentor and my team leader, Yvette. Those are my big resources.
So if you didn't have people resources though, there are other things that you have for putting together a buyer's presentation, right? What are some of those things?
Oh, some of those resources, I can, there's other presentations that other people have used in the past that we draw from. You mentioned Michael Lewis. They have a bunch of resources. I sometimes would argue that sometimes those resources are overwhelming and too much. So I think it's important to look through those resources and make sure you pull out things that you like and take away things that are may not apply to our market here.
Yeah, you know, when Brian just said that, it made me realize that it's probably important that we have a session like Alice had, where she showed you guys how to do a listing presentation and edit that. Maybe we could have something like that for the buyer's presentation once Ignite is completely wrapped up, and we can just spend a morning with everybody in a large room going over this. So, yeah.
And Yvette, you also had mentioned this earlier, but is the buyer lead sheet also another great resource?
Hello, yeah. The buyer's lead sheet, the information on the MLS is also a great source. But I would say that, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You just, there's so many people with great presentations. Take a little bit from everybody, take ours and then pare it down. We're about to redo ours again. It's a little bit cumbersome, but we know how to skip over it. We've done it so many times that we know exactly what to say, what not to say. So you might be overwhelmed by it, but right now we're not, but we want to make some changes, Kenny.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go over each section, we'll discuss the resources that you will need to customize the presentation for the buyer. And remember to change your table of contents to reflect content changes if you add, remove, or reorder sections. Your participation guide contains example pages from the buyer presentation modern template. You can view and edit the complete buyer presentation using either the modern or the traditional template and designs. And we will be looking at one from each page from each section of the table of contents except for the glossary.
Okay, so the first section of the presentation actually sets the tone for your relationship with them, right? So it opens by asking buyers to explain their dream home buying experience. So if you have your participation guide, that's page 6. So what do you think the objective for this page in the buyer's guide is? This page on their dream home. What is the objective of this page? Somebody just give a shout out, 1 or 2 people. What's the point of the dream home question page?
To uncover their needs.
Bingo. Anything else?
You also get the sense of their urgency and how realistic they are, right?
Very good. I can tell Lupita's been doing this for a while.
Don't want to waste your time, guys.
Have unrealistic needs. What did you say, Brian?
There's a couple of people in the chat. Sherry Romero said buyer's wishes, and then Rick Medina said finding them the dream home.
Perfect. You guys nailed it all, actually. So this page just sets the tone for the appointment, establishing the buyer's needs, their wants, neighborhoods, their values, everything that's at the center of the relationships they have that are going to be living in the house. And so you want to use this page actually in the presentation to just uncover all of their values and motivations as well. So it's not just their needs, their wants, and their values, but also the motivation and timeline, right?
And
So-
Yvette, is this where you would also say, this is where you're listening more than you're talking?
Well, yeah, unless you're like you and me, then we're talking. I'm just kidding. Sorry, we're kind of like a comedy team. But yes, we should always be listening more than we are talking, unless you're giving a presentation like this. Then you need to do some talking. So, are there any questions? I mean, you see some of the questions on here. Is there anything else that you guys think that you would add or take away from this in trying to uncover their values and motivation? Give me one or two of the questions that you could throw in here that's missing.
One thing that I personally don't like the term dream home because it throws people into this fantasy. And if you ask them what's your dream home, my dream home, it's not what I can currently afford. Most people can't, right? So I just got off the phone with a buyer who is in urgent need of a house, just so it's big enough to fit her family and it's a proximity of her son's school. That's her 2 criteria. Of course, it's not her dream home. She just needs a place to live and that will fit her family that she can afford, and then she can drive her son to school every day in a reasonable amount of time. So when I like that. Yeah, when I hear the dream home, it might throw people into this, oh, I want the perfect kitchen cabinet, and I want that, the flowers in my backyard and whatever, that things that are irrelevant. And then make the search a little harder because you set their expectation that we're gonna deliver them the dream. And most of the times there's a lot of compromises. So what I like to ask people to give me the most important 3 things that are like a must. Make a list of 10 and then minimize to 3, that no compromise. So that's my.
Yeah, I really love that. Anna, I really love that. That's so thoughtful. You got to remember that what we're looking at here is the modules that were given to us, right, by Keller Williams Austin, right? And yes, this is the way they did this probably back in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s. But I think that, you were so considerate to notice that. Because the reality is that what we should be about is just getting people to be a part of, to have equity in real estate and to throw away the idea of paying rent long-term, right? So I love your thoughtfulness because frankly, that can be a turnoff for some when they see that, because maybe what they just want to do is buy something in the not so great part of town just so that they can stop paying rent. And that to me is a really smart person. So thanks, Anna, for that perspective. I think that was really absolutely invaluable comment on your part and very thoughtful. So I am going to just kind of move along here now. Sometimes this thing jams. There we go.
It's okay. So the next section on the buyer's presentation is the preference profile. On page 8 in the participation guide, you will see questions that is on the screen. Now, what is the objective of the questions on this page? Who wants to take a shot? Some of the questions I see here says, have you considered who my main contact will be? What timeline would you like to strive for? Have you looked into getting pre-approval for a home loan? Have you thought about price range you'd be comfortable with? If I found a home today that checked all your boxes, could you see yourself making the move sooner rather than later?
So what do you think is the objective of the questions on this page? What are we trying to get to?
Can they buy?
What was that?
Can they buy?
Trying to understand their timeline and how to communicate with them throughout the process.
Exactly.
Anyone else?
I think it gives you an idea of what their motivation is.
I can't see you shaking your head.
Yeah.
Say something.
The building the preference profile is about uncovering expectations and preferences for communication and the anticipated timeline for the buyer. And then how will you track this information across multiple buyer consultation appointments? Who has an answer for that? Right?
The question was how you track it through multiple buyers.
How will you track this information across the multiple buyer consultation appointments?
Just by making notes. You can track notes however you're comfortable. You can use command if you want to, where you can go use an old notebook as whatever works for you. I think would be the most effective.
Yeah, would you say command is a good accountability partner?
It absolutely is. You can write notes down and then put down tasks to keep you accountable for your next steps and the next actions.
Yeah, I love what you just said, Brian, because we would love you to use command, and you're going to figure out why later on, because command actually starts taking over and thinking for you and telling you what comes next. You have it in notes, that's great, right? But the problem is if you're anything like me, you end up with note pages and lots of note pages, and there's no way to kind of follow up and find Johnny, Davis, because I have to look through all my note pages. But if you use command or a CRM, you just go to that person and you can see all your notes right there. I really recommend that you open up command when you're about to make a call to somebody, and then just pull up the person you're about to make a call to, pull up the note section, and then just start typing away. Okay, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, and then during the buyer consultation, you should be taking notes. And taking notes not only captures the information for you, but also demonstrates to the buyers that what they are saying is really important to you. And after the appointment, you should update the buyer's contact information in command to include their preferred method of contact. You can create a custom field to track additional preferences such as preferred time of day for contact, and use tags to help you organize your buyers by shared preferences.
Yeah, I know something that Brian and I used to say when we go into a joint meeting together is we would look at the client and go, do you mind if we take notes? It's just a courtesy thing. I don't think they're going to mind, but it lets them know that, one, you're being courteous to them, and you are, that you just want to make sure you're not invading their privacy. I don't think you would be, but still just ask them, do you mind if I take notes? This way I can better keep track of what your needs are, right? You just let them know what's up. So
there's a comment in the chat. Anna said she also sends a recap email after the meeting to write down all the points that were discussed.
Gee, Anna, I'm going to come hang out with you. You've got the right attitude. That way you make sure that everybody's on the same page. That's the point of that recap email. So I love that. That's really great. One of the things that we like to do, and what I think is important to do, is with Zoom now, we can fill out the buyer's presentation and the notes section right in front of them. So they're seeing exactly what it is we're typing. So that's another great way to do it. Do you mind? I'm just going to go ahead and put all of this on the screen as you're answering it. And that way they can say, nope, 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 that's not true, or yes, more of that. Okay, so now we're on to the next page, which is your home page. This section, you're going to use to ask buyers about their ideal home, right? I like that better. Maybe your ideal home is a better heading instead of your dream home, your ideal home, right? It's what's ideal for you right now. You should customize these questions based on your market and the information you have already obtained now from the buyer's lead sheet. The questionnaire is the foundation of your needs analysis. It is how you capture a precise picture of what your buyers are looking for in their new home. So later on, we're going to show you our buyer's presentation, and we're going to walk you through our personal presentation. But you should ask them some of the questions that are, on the screen. Some of them, maybe don't fit you as well, or you don't feel it'll be pertinent to your buyers. But here's some of the questions. Who will be living in the home? That's so important. Or not only that, but who's going to help you make the decision? Kenny, tell them the story about what happened with you that late night.
Oh, I met up with the client, and we were kind of going over the offer for the home. And when I got to the living room, there were more people making decisions than I had imagined. And it ended up being pretty much everyone that was also contributing to their gift funds. And so in the living room, there was just family members that was also there. And now they also had opinions on the property. So it just gave me a little more frustration as to, before I was dealing with, a family of 4, and then suddenly there was about 9 people in the room.
So that frustration came about because Kenny caused his own frustration, right? And sometimes we just do that. We don't ask all the questions. Who's going to be helping you make this decision? Who has a say-so in the final house? There are those that are going to be living in the house, and then there are those who are not living in the house, like the parents, who are going to be telling their kids exactly which house they should be living in. It's really interesting.
I just wanted to jump in real quick, if I could. This is Sherry. I have a really amazing buyer questionnaire that Locke actually personalized for me. It's really, really nice. And so then I'm gonna have my daughter make it on the PDF so that I can send it electronically and have the client actually fill it out, not having to print it out, just fill it out right online and send it right back to me. And it works really well. Plus I translated it into Spanish for my Spanish speaking clients. And it basically has all the questions that that you have here. And so it's kind of like a pre-buyer questionnaire or pre-buyer presentation questionnaire. And it seems to work really well. And I would love to share that with everybody as well.
We would love you to share it. So we're going to hold you to that. If you could do us a favor, and if you could send that over to, I don't know, maybe you could post it on our internal pages, our KW pages.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll let have Locke do that since he's the mastermind of that.
Perfect.
It'd be wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, for sure.
No, thank you for sharing. This is one of the greatest reasons why we are at KW, is because there is an attitude amongst us of we want to share best practices with one another. So that is absolutely fantastic. So the other thing that I always ask people, now that from the last family reunion, I've discussed this before, but this to me is this gets to the meat of everything. So what problems are you having now in your current home that we can solve in your next home? So that could be that you're living in an apartment and you want your first home. What problems can we solve for you? And I went through this the last time with you guys. I'm going to say it again. So when I said that to my client, it seemed to be clearer than me saying to them, well, what's your wish list? Or what's the top 3 things you want? I said, so you're in a house right now, or you're in a condo right now. What would you like to solve? What problems are you having? What's causing you to want to move? And again, what I say to them is, let's start at the front door. And they usually start off by saying, well, there's no entryway for me to put my shoes. Okay, great. So you don't want to walk right into the living room. You want an area where you can put your shoes. We need a foyer. Okay, write that down. You come to the kitchen. In the kitchen, we have nowhere for me to have the kids pull up to the countertop. So you want an island or you want a peninsula, something like that, right? Absolutely. So you write that down. So that's an invaluable question to add to it too, is what problems do you need to solve in the purchase of your next home? Okay, and just kind of walk them through that.
Now, why do you want to include information about neighborhoods in the buyer's presentation? What do you guys think?
Again, one thing that pops in, this is Sherry again, one thing that pops into my mind, one of my clients was really into like frisbee flying, and I didn't even realize that there were clubs all around that met up to throw frisbees in parks. And so we were looking in Tracy and Livermore, and then over well, in Tracy they didn't really have any clubs, so he's like, oh, I'd have to travel so far to do my frisbee. So I knew from after that we were focusing on other areas for him to be able to be close to what he really loves. If he's going to live in the house for a long time, I wanted him to be able to enjoy his hobbies and activities close to home.
That's awesome.
That was very thoughtful. So you use the neighborhood insight pages to provide information to the buyer and demonstrate your knowledge and expertise. This page positions you as the local expert. Now, where do you find information for the neighborhood insight page? Anyone know?
I think it's kind of staring us in the face.
Is that obvious?
This is command. This is what you're seeing on your screen is command, and it's a neighborhood insight page. So you can actually get information there. I think there's snapshots.
Yeah, you can use the designs in command to create neighborhood snaps for each neighborhood or zip code you want to include in the neighborhood insights. In order to get help, you can go to page 11 of your participation guide. There's more information there. Last question is, how do you choose what neighborhoods to include in the neighborhood insights? Who knows this one? I don't want to rely on our tech crew here.
Oh, somebody's got.
Kenny,
Yes.
it's this the snapshot, the neighborhood insights, or it's two different things?
You can use either.
Yeah.
Okay, because the snapshot doesn't work right now. So the insights, is it from designs?
I can't hear what she's saying.
She wants,
Is the insight also from designs?
I couldn't hear that last question. Can you say that? Repeat that?
Is the neighborhood insights, where do you find this? Is it from designs also?
Yes.
In designs and in, you also create a smart plan to send these out, but it is in designs. Yes.
Okay, got it.
So when have you ever set up a smart plan, Alice?
Yes.
And so there is a market. It's like a market snapshot that gets sent out, and actually it works, but it works very spottily. So I can't rely on it. I totally get that frustration because I can't rely on it. Ryan and I were discussing this, that one day something will work and then it'll not work for 2 weeks. And then I'll be sitting there and maybe it's working for Brian, but not working for me. And so I don't know why that happens. But, when these things happen, Alice, I'd really encourage you to get hold of Zach Younger or send him an email and say what's going on with this. The more people that give them feedback, the more we're going to get them, resolving these issues, because the snapshot is just so invaluable, and it should be going out to our clients monthly.
Absolutely.
I think is what some of us have it set up for. We can set it up, but I'm not always seeing it working. So I agree with you. We're going to play around with this a little bit more, and then we'll get back with you on this, Alice, and see if we can send out directions on how to do this, okay?
And then, if your clients also wanted good schools, but they want to be in Willow Glen, you should research and put the addresses in Great Schools or schoolscouts.com to determine which addresses in Willow Glen are assigned to the high rated schools.
Yeah, I think most of you know that Willow Glen, that a lot of people want to live in Willow Glen. It's got really cute architecture, really nice houses in most parts of Willow Glen. But there's a section of Willow Glen with all those really nice houses that also has a school. The elementary school is a 3, And I think the middle school is a 5, and then your high school jumps up. And so if you've got a young family coming into Willow Glen, they've got to understand that they don't have the greatest school district, but they can maybe send their kids to a private school. So you've got to understand the neighborhoods. That's the whole point of what we're discussing here. You've got to listen, first of all, for what neighborhood they want to be in, and then maybe you can get them to open up to something bigger or better, especially if you keep getting priced out in the neighborhood. I've got a situation right now where a client is wanting to be in the Cambrian area that's south of 85 and right next to Los Gatos. And that is a Carleton school district, and Carleton is an award-winning school. And we've gone up against 30 offers and gone $500,000 over asking and still not got it.
Wow.
And we have to keep our eyes open for that one. So now they've expanded a little bit into, Los Gatos. Who would have thought that Los Gatos schools, this Los Gatos neighborhood next to it is not as popular as a Carleton school district neighborhood in San Jose. So you've got to know your neighborhood, start learning, hop on the MLS and learn about neighborhoods. Get on Google. That's how I learn neighborhoods. I also drove around a lot to understand the neighborhoods. So we're going to move ahead. Do we have any questions in the chat box?
No, just one comment from Alice. She said, thank you, Yvette. I was using it yesterday and used my phone Kelly app to send over through her laptop. And she did submit a ticket to KW support, and they're working on it.
Well, good for you, Alice, because I kind of gave up on the Kelly app, so you're way better than me. So let's take a look at this page now. A buyer who knows what is expected is confident, right? So, and a confident buyer, let's face it, is easier to work with than an anxious buyer. And the reality is that most buyers are anxious to begin with. So in order for us to calm their fears, we need to give them the most amount of information, right? Give them information ahead of time so they're not having to check with you and say, so what am I supposed to expect next? So they won't, they will know what to expect if you tell them the next steps. I just closed the transaction where I was a listing agent down on Julian Street, 643 Julian Street downtown. And the buyers absolutely lost confidence in their agent and they became anxious and they requested that the buyer's agent conference me in and to chat with me because they wanted to ask me questions. I was so surprised that the agent called me and I was just like, hi, Kai. And he says, I've got my buyers on the line, and that threw me off. He says, they've got some questions for you. And the questions they were asking me are questions they should be asking him. What's the time frame to close? What happens next once we get our documents in? I was just stunned that he had me on the phone explaining. And if it was a new agent, I totally understand because I was new once and, listing agents helped me out along the way. But this person has been around for at least 6 years more than me, so at least 13 years in the business. Now, the reason why I was really super gracious with him is because the week before he told me that his wife had left him and walked out on him, and he actually broke down on the phone, and I could tell he was traumatized. So you always want to help out a fellow agent because you never know what they're going to be, what they're actually going through in the background. But it was definitely affecting his communication with his client, and his head was a little muddled. So he did something that he should never have done, though, and I'm going to ask you not to do this. He sent an email to me with the buyer's email addresses attached to it. And that now gave the buyer's email access to me. He was saying it's okay that you contact her. Now they already have my email address because I'm the listing agent and they can find it anywhere. They can find it on our signs, right? But the whole point is that once he sent that communication over, and it could have been that they requested that they see it, I would have blind copied them on it, right? And then they just started emailing me directly and asking me questions and leaving him out of the loop. And I had to redirect them back to the agent again. But once the transaction closed, they started texting me directly and just asking me about the neighborhood. Now, just be really careful as listing agents about talking too much with the buyers after you close a transaction, because lawsuits can happen, not because you're doing anything wrong, but maybe you just share a little bit too much, or maybe you share what you shouldn't be sharing. But I would say as a buyer's agent, be really careful about how you handle situations like that. I would say to them, yes, I can blind copy you on the questions. I'm going to ask that you communicate only through me with the listing agent. You can always ask for that, right? So, but none of that will happen if you tell the buyer what's coming next. You just need to also explain to them what your partnership is, right? What your relationship is, what's the next step. So the next step, of course, is the pre-approval, the pre-qualification and the pre-approval for the loan. You want to make sure that you are explaining that to them. So pre-qualification is a preliminary evaluation of how much a buyer can afford to borrow, while pre-approval is more involved process, right? So that pre-approval actually is where the lender verifies the income, the employment, the financial information to evaluate how much the buyer can afford to borrow. The underwriting process, by the way, is where now they're vetting you. They are really calling, asking questions. They're checking your debt to income ratio. They're calling your job. They're checking your finances. They're checking, the credit scores. So in a market like we have today, you want to be able to explain those steps so they understand why they have to be at least pre-approved. And even better, why it's so important to be underwritten, just so it can shorten the loan contingency time frame, or you can come in with 0 days contingency if your client is confident in actually doing that. So I'm going to move on to this page. This page is a little tricky, but we have to cover it because Keller Williams is asking us to cover it.
So the Keller Mortgage page in the buyer's presentation is optional. If you include the Keller Mortgage, you must also include the affiliated business arrangement disclosure at the end of the document. You will need to customize the first line of the disclosure to include the name on their market center.
Yeah, so the whole idea here is to say, hey, we're not trying to push Keller Mortgage on you, but we are affiliated. So if you choose to do it, we're not pushing it on you. We're just letting you know that this is available to you. Okay. So next page, real value, real experience, your value proposition. I talked to you guys about this one, right? So does anybody, and if you didn't, it's totally okay, but does anybody have a value proposition that they can share? I have one, but does anybody have a value proposition that they can share as in one sentence or two? If you don't raise your hands if you want to, or write it in the chat box if you have it. I'm just going to go ahead and share mine. This is very succinct and just to the point. And I say it as a team, Petersen Realty team. We're realtors who help people design the life they want through buying and selling real estate in a systematic and proven manner. It's as simple as that. Petersen Realty team. We're realtors who help people design the life they want through buying and selling real estate in a systematic and proven manner. Then I can go a little further and share some other things, such as we're there for you at every turn. We treat you like family, delivering honesty, transparency, and care. We have a track record of exceeding our clients' expectations by paying attention to every detail throughout the process. We have a list of recommendations that we can send you. We are master negotiators, helping clients achieve their objectives. We're efficient, organized, hassle-free. We give you we give you an efficient, organized, hassle-free sale of your home. And one of the other things we also say is we evaluate and we mine data that gives buyers a competitive advantage. I will type all these things down and before the end here, it'll be in the chat box. Feel free to twist and turn what I have written down and make your own. I twisted and turned from somebody else to make my own. So I wish I could say every single thing I wrote here was just mine. The first part of mine I got from somebody else, but I'm gonna say it one more time. So say Kenny says to me, Kenny's a client, and Kenny says to me, so tell me what you can do for us that's different from anybody else. I'm gonna tell you what I can do for you, Kenny. Because I'm a realtor who helps people design the life they want through buying and selling real estate in a systematic and proven manner. You're gonna be delighted working with me. It's as simple as that, straightforward, look them in the eye. You could also say that you help people create wealth through home ownership. There are many things that you can say, right, when you're dealing with that. And hopefully you guys have started to figure out what your value proposition is. This section is all about presenting your value proposition. So put it in here, and your value propositions could be in words, like I just said, but I think having numbers is good. So if you kind of look at this page here, you can see some of the numbers. 15 years in business. So if you haven't been in business that long, then look at the team you're on. 10 years in business, whatever, collective years. Or Keller Williams, how many years in business, right? How many clients have you served? If you haven't served anybody, go off of the team, go off of the office stats, figure that out. Repeat clients, make sure you put that down as well. These are things that people really appreciate. Or how many clients have you served? Is it 40? Is it 10? It doesn't matter. You got to start somewhere with it, right? So use your market center stats, use the Keller Williams stats to present your best value story possible. And as your business grows, continue to track your successes and include the numbers in your future buyer's presentation. You know, everybody started somewhere, guys. Everybody started somewhere, and everybody had to have that first transaction. So again, reminder, if you're on a team, use the team numbers. If you're a part of an office, like our office, use the office numbers that we have here. And then if you have any questions to get these stats, email your team leader. Email Bob and Hilda to find what's going on in your office. What other numbers would you think that you could track? I'm just kind of curious. What numbers do you guys think, or what other information would you add to this to pump up your value?
I would add, especially now in this competitive market, how many attempts it took you to get a house. Like I would say that my buyers usually win the deal within first 3 offers that we submit.
That's really great. You know, so if that's your truth, then you share it, right? But if you're on your 10th offer, you might not want to share that. But although
with my small numbers, my numbers are small. With my small statistics that I have, my small data, it's still true. But as
It's only going to grow from here.
All you need is one.
Yep.
I know, right?
I love that, Anna. I love that. You're still telling your truth.
I'm not lying to anyone. I had 2 buyers so far, and one I got in the second offer, and the second in the first offer. So it's still true.
Congratulations. That is fantastic. You're right. You know, use your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But you know, this is a really great area. So a couple of things. Let me just throw. This is not a part of this session, but I will tell you that it's really important for you to ask for recommendations while they're working with you, and they're the happiest when they just got in contract.
Yes.
Get it right then. Don't wait till it closes, because now they're on a high. And while they're on that high, I want you to say this to them as well. I want you to say to your clients, what you're going to notice is that now that you've closed and you're going to go out there, or now that you've got in contract, you're going to tell a bunch of your friends, And you're gonna find other people who are just like, well, gosh, I wanna buy. Please send them to me right away. Send me their names and numbers and let me contact them. So we're getting more business off of doing that right now because people are at their highs. And then once they start going through the waiting period of getting to close, they start to go a little bit of a roller coaster again, depending on how much struggle they might go through. And then once they close again and they're happy and you're handing them that key, then you want to get on them that night and say, hey, could you send me a recommendation? And it's really easy. You can do it. Are you on LinkedIn? If you're on LinkedIn, here's how you do it. I'm going to send you over. I'm going to connect with you. You should have connected with them already, by the way. Once you are working with them, connect with them on LinkedIn. But don't connect with them on LinkedIn if you're not going to at least show up on LinkedIn and go look at the page to see what they're saying or doing, okay? So LinkedIn, you just press a button and ask for a recommendation. They just fill it out very simply and it comes right back to you and then you can post it, okay? So do that, you guys, and let me move along to the next section, Kenny.
Currently, you should show a color copy of the customized buyer presentation on your Zoom screen.
Oh.
And once you're back to the meeting in person, you should get a physical copy to the buyer. Also, you should have a system for taking notes on the buyer's answers to the questions in the buyer presentation.
And we're going to show you ours so that you can see that we actually do that. So buyer representation agreement. Okay, there's only maybe 3 people on this, or 3 to 4 people on here that said that they actually use this. Good for you. So especially great if you're working with people that you don't know very well, because they could be working with lots of other people. You never know. You've got to ask the right questions to figure this out. So the goal of the buyer consultation is to actually conclude with a signed agreement, right? And the bottom line is you're securing the buyer. That's what you're trying to do. So the buyer representation agreement, it's a legal document that formalizes your working relationship with the buyer, detailing the services you provide and the duration of the relationship. Now, I went to the California Association of Realtors and I looked up the one that they have on there, their buyer's agreement, and I think it's called the BAE, and it was just like 7 pages and it looked so legal that I thought this would scare somebody away, so I wouldn't use that one. If somebody has a really good buyer's agreement that they love, go ahead and let us know right now in the chat box, and we will tap into you to get one up on the Facebook page so everybody has one that they could use. I know that some people just type their own agreement, and again, if you have one that really does work, those people who have been doing it, please let us know who you are and we'll reach out to you and get that taken care of and sent out to everybody. So this agreement basically prevents you spending valuable time with a buyer who ultimately just walks away and uses another agent. Now, we used to see a lot of that happen with the open houses, and as much as I miss the open houses, what I love about what's going on right now is they just can't go out on weekends and look at 10 houses that they didn't tell me about and have these agents do what we were all taught to do or what we've heard people do. Some of my clients would walk into a home on the weekend. Now, I may be out, maybe showing another client property, or I am traveling that weekend. Here's what I used to do. I would hand them a stack of cards once we met the first meeting, and I'd say, put this in your car. And when you go out to any open houses, I want you to walk in and hand the card to the agent that's there and say, oh, I've got an agent, I'm going to be looking around. So you want to warn them, because here's what I literally stood in houses and heard people say this. So you're here by yourself? Yes. You have an agent? Yes. Well, why isn't your agent here with you? They're busy this weekend. Well, your agent should be available to you all the time. They should never send you out on their own. I would never do that. I mean, I've literally heard people do that. So, and they try to poach somebody from the open house that way. So not, not the smartest, thing to do. It's a tight community, but you want to make sure it's not illegal. What they just did is not illegal, right? They're working really hard to try and get a buyer. So you just have to warn your buyers ahead of time. And I love it when they come back and they tell the stories about how, man, they really were just trying to, take me out away from underneath you. And they don't realize that maybe the person is like one of my closest friends or, it doesn't matter. The whole thing is that you have to inform your buyers if they ever go back to open houses. This is so important. Okay, Kenny. let's
If
move
I
on
can
to the
interrupt really quickly.
What was that?
If I can interrupt really quickly, just my 2 cents, because I come from a new home background. Just as an FYI, you sending a client with a card isn't going to work.
Well, yeah, but that's new home construction.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because
Oh, yeah.
it's a different.
Oh, yeah,
ballgame.
Nancy.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's a good side thing to say to everybody. When it comes to new home construction, so I actually have a couple people who will do it who know me well. But overall, I would say 99.9% of them do not do that. As a matter of fact, on some of the websites, it says you have to show up with your buyer for the first meeting. So thanks, Nancy, for sharing that. Nancy, did you come from Pulte?
I worked for KB and Pulte both.
I run into you at Pulte before. Well, congratulations on being with such a great company.
Thank you.
Okay, and thanks for sharing your expertise. We appreciate it. Now, I'm going to actually pull this up on the page. Sorry, I've got to kind of, let's see. I'm going to pull up on the page. Let me go back and do. We're going to actually show you on command what we're doing next.
So in command, you have the ability to customize a buyer's guide to fit exactly how your business runs. You can add or remove steps, edit the information within the steps, and also reorder the steps of the guide. This is designed to walk your clients through the process of buying a home. It's a very basic guide. Let me demonstrate through this video how to reorder the steps, edit the information and images within the steps, add new steps, as well as remove the steps.
Can you actually, Brian, can you do it? Because I don't have my Keller Williams stuff up on the page. So I apologize. It's not dumping me. So can you open command and I'll slide over here a little bit?
Yep.
Where my mouse?
Can everybody see my screen? You see my screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we
great.
can see it.
The last icon on the left.
So
There you go.
if you click on this KW icon, you'll see all the headers. If you click on consumer, you'll come to this this landing page. And from here, you can go click on the guide builder and tab on the top. And when you go there, you'll see 2 different guides, the buyer's guide and the seller's guide. Today, I think we're focusing on the buyer's guide.
Yeah.
So you can just click on this or these 3 dots to edit the guide.
Now you can go to the little gray buttons on your left and you can move everything around. Hold on to it and drag it on pages, reorder the page.
Sure, you can move it.
See that? So you can, it's really easy, but Brian, would you mind just like going down the whole page? Because each thing, because this is the extent of their buyer's guide.
And so, yeah, it's an introduction. So there's also an introduction for yourself as your agent to introduce you to clients if they haven't met you yet. And then the guide is here just to give them some summarized information from your buyer's presentation. So I don't think this is meant to replace your buyer's presentation, but as a supplement to it, to help remind them of the things that you covered. So you can edit everything here. You can change the images.
Show them how you got to that on the right.
Oh,
By
if you
clicking.
click this this tab, it'll bring up this editing console. So you can change the image, change the title of the card, edit the text here. I can just delete it, I can test, and you'll see the changes are made real time. You can click this, this garbage can and then remove that tab entirely and make all any change you want. Click on the tile, make changes to this for getting pre-approved, touring homes, anything that you feel is important to keep them reminded of working with you and making sure that they are on the right track to help remind them what it takes to be successful in buying a home.
Thanks, Brian. That is fantastic. So now I'm going to go back and I am going to go back to where we were at before.
Hey, Brian, I have a quick question about the buyer's guide.
Yeah.
It appears to be similar to the one on the KW app. When you make changes in command there, does that populate over to your app as well?
Yes. So when a client downloads your KW app that's customized to you, your information is customized on their app. So when you change the buyer's guide in here in command, it'll automatically be reflected in the app on their buyer's guide.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Are we done? We're done? Okay, let's see if I can move us along here. Okay, so based on what you've learned today, what do you think you need to prepare for your next buyer's consultation appointment? I guess if there are people who actually have buyer's presentations pulled together already, do you think you need to make any changes after some of the conversations that we've had today? Or are there people here who have not put together a buyer's presentation as yet? And would it benefit you to have a class where we help you put together a buyer's presentation?
I think it's always great to have a class, and even if we do have a buyer's presentation, it just helps us to update it and to freshen it up a little bit. I think it would be great to have a class.
Fair enough, Sherry. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. So before your first buyer consultation appointment with anybody, you should actually review and practice also scripts. Mm-hmm. It's so important. I think when, Brian and I were doing this, our first listening appointment together, we practiced and practiced and practiced. And I know, like for this presentation here today, Kenny and I sat down and we practiced and we practiced and we practiced. We want to be prepared. So with every presentation where you want to make sure that you're doing a good job for people and you are giving them the best possible results, you want to make sure, this sounds muffled, you want to make sure that you are really practiced, right? I know for a while there, Brian and I think it was Melissa and Kenny and Alice, if I'm correct, the four of them were doing script practice together. Get some partners. If you're a little overwhelmed right now and you're busy, maybe that's not the time for you to be doing that, but it really is almost always the right time to be doing script practice. There's always something we can be improving upon. So every other Thursday when we meet with our coach, who's Mark Burstein, he gives us scripts and we write them down feverishly. We discuss it in our weekly team meeting. And then, we just get a chance to practice it over and over and over again. It could be a 2-liner script, but as long as you're familiar with it, then you're going to do well with your clients. So please make sure that there is a script book. And Jackie, if you can find it and put it in the chat, it would be really great. It's the Elemental script book. And so please make sure that you do that. Okay, we're coming to the end and wrapping up now.
Mm-hmm. Now, the goal of our time together is to help you think, feel, act, and use what you learn to ignite your passion and help you with your big why. What are some of the ahas for this session so far? Who would like to share?
Well, to me, the aha is the importance of the buyer's presentation, because I don't think many people even do it like officially, in this regard. Because listing presentation, it's a given, people understand and do it. But buyers, usually you kind of just, oh, you're going to buy, okay, and it's just verbal and it's informal. This makes you look more professional, more prepared, more attentive. So I always wanted to have one. I just didn't know where to start and how to put it together. So I'm glad this happened.
We're gonna help you with that, Anna. So one word stood out that Anna said. It's that it makes you look like a professional. If you want to just show your value, come prepared. Come with data or information. We're going to show you ours, like we mentioned, so that you will see that we give them data that they can refer back to over and over again regarding the process.
And keep in mind, taking the time to reflect on what you learn is important in building your confidence and celebrating your growth.
Yeah, so we reflect on our stuff every single week as a team.
Oh yeah.
We go over it. So going forward, one of the things that we'd like to do is next week is the last wrap up of Ignite. And one of the things we'd like to do is set up 4 weeks where we have follow-up. And we're going to take it on. Kenny and I talked about, so we're going to take it on. We're going to try and rope Brian into helping us to take this on. And we would like to put together a 4-week session to follow up, to make sure that what you've learned here in Ignite, you don't just drop it. So it's really easy to show up for classes, really hard to practice what you've just learned. So we want to make sure you don't lose it. And I know right now, if I'm correct, Hilda, if you could unmute Hilda, I think you are actually running script and lead generation every week in your office. Is that true?
We actually will relaunch in April because of the time conflict and the number of hours that people were on a Zoom per day. So yes, but we will definitely be doing that weekly, and everybody's welcome to join. It's just a part of the business that we have to focus on that's going to really make a big difference in production.
Great. And we'll be doing the same thing in this office over here. We will have a weekly script practice, and we'll also have a weekly lead generation happening as well. And,
yeah, it has to be done.
Things are opening up a little bit more. I know we have it so that we don't want people, all sitting together in a room without. We have a drop down between Kenny and I right here. And of course, you should still wear your mask. The only reason why we don't have our mask on right now is because we sound really muffled, and you guys would just wonder if we had some drinks this morning before we started our class. So, but going forward, we have space. We've determined that we have space in here at our campus, and we've got a smaller building than you guys have over there at Silicon City. So you can fit more people in there, but we can pairs of 2, 6 feet apart, practicing together is really great. You can get through things more if it's pairs of 2s. I know sometimes you can do pairs of 4s and learn, or not pairs, but groups of 4 and learn a lot that way. But we're going to have the way we're going to do it is we're going to have 1 week where it's a 4-hour script practice meeting. And then the following week, where it's going to be a lead gen and updating your command at the same time and follow-ups. Also, that will be a 4-hour thing in the morning. Then the next week, we're going to also flip back to doing script practice again. The next week, lead gen. And in between, what we're also going to start doing is send out a weekly home assignment, giving you an assignment to write a contract. For those who've never written a contract, you got to practice now before you actually get to it. So that will also be coming up, not this week, but the next week. keep an eye out at Facebook for that, and maybe Hilda, you and Bob can chat a little bit. Or
Yeah, I
maybe
think
you both can-
the writing class is a good idea. I like that. And Tam is also going to give a contract class in April. So
Nice.
that will help. And Mark is also going to be giving a 2-hour in-depth, listing presentation, how to nail and how to win the listing presentation. So that, all of these
Wonderful.
wonderful classes.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, Kenny, you got this one?
Yep. And I hope you guys are also keeping up with the assign activities of 10 contracts added, 10 conversations a day, and 10 handwritten notes. These are all great ways to stay connected and up to date with your sphere.
Yeah, so, the way it's supposed to work, but we're not in an office, is we should have a big board on the wall. Everybody who signed up for Ignite, and we should have all your names in one column, and going along on the right-hand side, you should be checking off who did 10 contacts. How many contacts did you do daily? Keep track of your progress, right? How many conversations did you have a day? How many handwritten notes did you do? A little tip here, when you're doing notes, use a colored envelope. People tend to open the colored envelopes first when they get to the mail. So get your note cards with just, and you can get them at Michael's, you can get them at Dollar Tree. Just get some notes. Everybody's looking for the perfect one with their logos on it. Don't do that. Just do it, right? People just want to hear from somebody. There's something to the Nike,
Swoosh?
yeah, no, their value proposition, which is just do it, right? So all of this is really great for you. Also, the last thing I want to touch upon is how important scripts are, right? So you should be practicing and internalizing scripts. It allows your business to grow. Just as a doctor learns anatomy after working with patients, agents need to learn scripts to prepare to have meaningful conversations with all of your clients. With scripts also, you control the conversation by using purposeful language that helps you get to the end point, which is a closed transaction. They also help you communicate value. Once you have internalized the scripts, you can now add your value proposition, which will help lead generate and make those efforts so much more purposeful and actually take you to a closed deal. Scripts also help you uncover motivations for the buyers and the sellers and identify any objections so you can handle them up front. You should make sure that you always have a script for when people say, why should I use you, right? You should practice that. And if you don't know what to say, get hold of a coach and talk to them. Talk to your team leaders, right? Those are scripts, right? Think about all the questions, all the objections that a buyer's going to bring to you. Write them all down, and then now go forth and find a script for them, right? Also, it allows you to have a rehearsed response that delivers a really powerful message in a way that your client's going to best understand. And it also allows you to ask questions in a way that will be able to be where you're able to quickly share the information that they need, and that will best serve them. And the bottom line is it makes you feel confident. If you've scripted and you practice, when it comes up to you, you're just like, I got this. I'm not worried about it, right? So that's the main thing. Now we got to say this on every single script, on every class we do that has to do with scripts. We have to talk about the importance of being in compliance on the do not call list. So really careful, because under federal law, sellers and telemarketers, including real estate agents, are prohibited from calling consumers listed on the Federal Trade Commission's do not call registry. So Bob or Hilda, if you could post on our sites where we can go to find the do not call registry. I do not have it. I apologize for that, but you just have to be super mindful of this, you guys. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually stop sharing this, and we're going to share our presentation with you so that you can see what we do. So let's go back to this. Come on, Come on, baby. So good. You sent it to me earlier, didn't you, Kenny? In here, sorry. There it is. So let's just open it up in. So a couple changes. Notice this is an old page. We really, shameful for us, we did not update KW Silicon City. That for us, it needs to say KW. Let me download one more time. Okay, can't be sending it out like this. Okay. So sorry, it's not opening up in, it's a PDF version. Could you send me the version that's not PDF, please?
Sure.
Okay, so Brian, do you have a version you could pull up?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you pull it up and share it? And I'll run it through us through it. And I'm gonna let you share. Okay, can you see the screen with Kim and fiance?
Fiance. This is before I met with them.
Okay.
I know they now.
Okay, much better. Thank you very much, Kim and Alex. Okay, Brian, why don't you run through since it's sitting in front of you?
Oh, sure.
And I'll do it with you.
So the first meeting with the client, this is the buyer's presentation that we go through. I like to talk about them and give them a quick introduction to our team. I let them know the benefits of being on a team, that when they work with me, they're not just working with me. There's a whole group of agents behind me that support me, especially if I'm unavailable for some reason. There shouldn't be any period of time where if they need to get a hold of someone, they wouldn't get a response within a reasonable amount of time.
Okay, so one of the things that Brian does here, which I think is really great, is he's not reading the screen. Notice he's done this so much that he's just telling them about the screen, right? And so go to the next one, Brian, and run with it.
And here is where I just.
No. So I want you to do as if you're speaking to the client right now. So speak to me as if I'm the client.
Well, Yvette, it's great to meet you. Now, I'd like to hear about what you do. What type of home you're looking for? Where do you want to be? What are your dreams in this home?
Well, this would be my first home. My husband loves growing plants, so he wants more land than I would want. So it's going to be a little struggle here because all he cares about is the land, the outside. And what I care about is having a house that is in good condition where I don't have to do a lot of work. So I'd like it to be turnkey. I want it to be ready, move-in ready for me.
Gotcha. And usually the husband and wife will be there at the same time. So I would turn to the husband and almost ask the same question, just because sometimes, oh, sorry.
There's my husband, Kenny.
Kenny Craig. How do you feel about that? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fixer-upper kind of guy, and I'd rather be in the backyard with the plants and the flowers. I'm more of a green thumb. So for me, turnkey would be ideal as well.
Turnkey ideal. Great.
Yes.
And where would you ideally like this home to be?
Anywhere that has lots of land.
Lots of land.
Think about a greenhouse.
Okay, so we're going to get in an argument right now in front of our agent husband, because I know you want that, and so that means that he wants to go all the way out, to Morgan Hill. I don't want to be in Morgan Hill.
But honey, he asked me, so
No,
I'm just answering.
I hear
as
you,
honestly as possible.
but I just want to say, I want to make sure I'm heard here, and I want to make sure that you get that. I want to be close to work. I want to drive an hour to come to work. I will drive 30 minutes, but I'm not driving an hour.
Well, maybe, that's why we have Brian to really help us with our compromise
Okay,
of somewhere in between and having some land.
Well, this
okay.
is great dialogue. I'd like to hear both of your feedback, both of your opinions, hopefully uninterrupted, just because I want to make sure both of you are heard. I want to make sure I hear what you need, Yvette, and what you need, Kenny. So then whatever compromise we need to make, we can work towards. Great. So this is the first time we're meeting. What do you think your budget is, and have you spoken to a lender?
Yes, we spoke to a lender and we decided our budget's gonna be 1.4 million.
But realistically, I'd be more comfortable around 1.2
Yeah.
if
so
you
would
could
I.
do that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm sorry, are we going through the whole thing or we're just?
No, jump.
Okay.
So that's an idea of how it might go. You might have a contentious pair.
Yeah. So really the point is to get to know your clients, build rapport with them if it's the first time you're meeting with them, and get to know them, what their needs are, what each of their individual needs are, because oftentimes husband and wife don't always agree on everything. And a lot of the questions that Yvette talked about earlier, being a master of questions, are the best way to get to know your clients and what they need and want. Sometimes you'll uncover things that they need and want where they didn't even know how to verbalize. This is just a page that we use to verify their information. And this is just a list of all the questions that you could potentially go through.
So I will also say that what you want to do is make sure that you are walking through these questions, carefully with people, but you also want to be typing away on the screen. That way they can see that you're taking notes.
Yes. Note taking is very important. And I usually don't go through every single one of these questions, but we'll go through and talk through the main points. But we leave them with this list of questions so they can review it in case they think of something else that they feel is important for us to know as we start searching.
So one of the things I've started doing is I've back up to those questions, Brian. I send out these 3 pages with the wish list on it ahead of time. And I ask them to fill it out for me and send it back to me. Then I put them back, put it back in to the presentation. So we already have most of this done. This actually shortens your time on Zoom with them, okay? Let's face it, everybody's got the square butt these days from sitting in these chairs, and we really want to, keep our time on Zoom as short as possible. So.
And then, Yvette, would it also be a good recognition to send the buyer guide sheet at the same time? The buyer lead sheet?
Yeah, so 2 things we send. You can come in if you want, Mark Burstein. Mark Burstein just walked by, so we're inviting him in if he wants to come. So he might be busy though. So we want you to know that it's important to send out the buyer's lead sheet and also the wish list. And then the next thing we did is we came up with a roadmap. So take it away, Brian.
This is just the whole process for buying a home, from consulting with the lender, talking to you as a realtor.
Go to the next page. So you walk them through it.
Yeah. And choosing a lender, getting
No, back up. Because what we want to do is really do it for you, right? So here's what I say when I come to this page. I say, well, thanks for choosing us. See, I already just jumped right there. I just go there. Or if you feel like you don't know them very well, say, well, the whole objective of this meeting is that you feel comfortable with me and I feel comfortable and know that you're the right client that I can help. So hopefully by the end of this all, you will choose me as your realtor. Next page. Then we go to the next one. So the first step that you should go through after we determine, the first step we want to make sure is that you start the pre-approval process. So we're going to send you to the right lender. They're going to help you understand your price range, what payments you can feel comfortable with. And if you don't have a preferred lender, we have a number of them that we can recommend you to. Next one. So we're focused on understanding your lifestyles. This is very much what we just talked about. The whole idea here is to understand and to listen to you. This is all about you. Once we figure that out, we'll start to preview homes. We're gonna take that out of there. We don't preview homes in advance anymore. What we will start to do is we'll preview homes together, and we will, tour the homes, go through the neighborhoods, give you recommendations, give you insights as we're walking through the house. When we'll keep you informed daily of the new homes that come on the market, and we do this through the MLS, right? That's how we do it. We also have the same resources as, let's face it, as many people out there in the public do through Redfin or Zillow. So we also have an app that we can share with you, but we will work with you until we find the home of your dreams. That's our commitment to you today. Next one. So we want you to understand that what it takes to make a successful offer. There's 7 keys to this. There's a purchase price. Look, it doesn't matter if you come in at the price you want. What you need to come in at is that the price is going to win you the home that you desire. And another thing that's important is contingencies. We're going to explain that a little further on in the presentation. There's also this thing called close of escrow time. So this is the time that it takes to actually get in contract to the time that you take the keys. Also keep in mind that everybody is submitting an as-is contract in California these days. And then the deposit is important. It has to be 3% if you want to be taken seriously. And you usually want to have it in escrow within 24 hours of being in contract. Okay, things are moving that quickly in the Bay Area. And if you come in with a longer period than that, they're just not going to take you seriously. Also, the terms are also important. And we're going to break that down a little bit for you later on, and the intangibles. We'll explain that. Let's go over to the next one, Brian. So we want to explain escrow because we've just used the word escrow, and you're probably wondering, well, what's that? What's escrow? Well, it's a third party that actually, it doesn't represent either the buyer or the seller. They hold the earnest money deposit. They arrange for payoff on the liens. They coordinate the signing appointments of all the parties. They receive and disperse all the funds for closing on both sides. And they arrange to notify county offices to change the ownership. So that's what they do. Let's go to the next one, Brian. So let's figure out, how do you attain your goal in today's market? So our market, needs to be updated. So our market is a seller's market right now. So we need to update this, you guys. So sorry about what's on the screen. We are definitely in a seller's market. So you have to be decisive. You have to go in with the best price. And you know why we want you to get the house the first time out? Because if you don't, you're going to be in competition with everybody else who didn't get that house. So now you're chasing on a 30 offers and you didn't get it. You're now up against 28 more people to get it. We don't want you in that position. Our job is to get you in the house as quickly as possible so that you're not having to chase the market down, and you're also not dealing with great frustration and losing more of your money as time goes along. So the other thing you've got to understand is that a strong foundation is needed. That means you have to be financially prepared. That's why we want you getting your pre-approval and starting the underwriting process. We also want to make sure we understand your needs so we don't miss anything. We also want to make sure that your package is solid. That means all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, there aren't mistakes. They look at that package and they go, this agent knows what they're doing, and the listing agent says, great, I'm not going to have to be chasing them for paperwork because they just know what they are doing. So let's go to the next one here. Oh, back up one more time. Sorry. The other thing I say, and I don't know where you guys stand on this and what your status is, but I also say I'm a full-time realtor. You're not going to be dealing with somebody that you can't get hold of from 8 to 5. I am not like that. You can get hold of me from 8 to 5. And we can discuss the best way to get hold of me. And also you want to make sure you have a lender that we know is successful in this market. That's why we give you a few names. Some people will use names that they're comfortable with from television, such as Quicken Loan. And Quicken Loan actually has done a great job for many people. We tend to use the people that have been successful for us repeatedly. That's how we win. Okay, next one. So when you make an offer, again, like we talked about, the price is so important. And we're going to make sure that we take a look at all the factors. What's the condition of the house? What's the length of time on the market? What's the activity? That's all that research, which you can't do. That's what we bring to the table. That's the value we bring to the table for you, is finding out all this information so that you can make the right decision on your price. The other thing is we also want to ask questions of the listing agent so that we understand and we match the needs of the seller. So what does the seller need? So does the seller need rent back? Does the seller need us to work with a 1031 exchange? So these things are important. Again, another value we bring that you can't possibly know about. The other thing is that maybe we can dig up some additional properties. You see, we belong to Keller Williams, and at Keller Williams, we have 2 offices that share information, and we have access to properties that are coming on market before any other agent out there has access to that. So we'll also try and match with whatever we see coming on market in the office. Only 3 things can happen when you make an offer. They'll accept it, let's hope for that. They'll reject it, or the second best thing we can ask for is they'll counter. Because then we know where we stand and we can figure out what we need to do to get you in this house, or if you really love this house, you now have a second chance at it, right? Next, Kenny. Oh, next, Brian. So price bidding strategies, there's really one that works right now, and it's the one on the bottom, top dollar. Top dollar is usually the winner. However, contingencies make a difference. So I lost out to an offer a couple months ago where the contingencies were all 0. And I had a contingency that I had a loan contingency, my client did, and they couldn't remove it right then. They could remove it a week later. And so that didn't matter. So just keep in mind that top dollar is usually the winner. However, contingencies do matter in today's market. Next. So I told you I'd get back to contingencies, right? So what are they? There's 3 of them. There's actually another one that I'm going to tell you about, but it usually doesn't come into play. These are the 3 contingencies that are on the contract. Property, loan, and appraisal. You have to fill those out. So that means, and they're all running concurrently together. So if you put down 10 days for property and you put down 5 days for loan, at the end of 5 days, it doesn't start for the property. It's running, concurrently. Is that the right word?
Concurrently, yes.
Yeah. So the property contingency allows buyers to send in their own property inspector and take a look at the property again. Usually, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time, we actually see property inspection reports. So usually if you know the property inspector or you understand that this is a reliable company, we will say we can still come in at 0 property inspections. Why? Because it is what it is. If you don't want that property with the faults in it, usually somebody else does. And if nobody wants it, then you really have great opportunity, right? It's usually what was that? Oh, it's usually some kind of a rundown property. It's not the kind of property I want to deal with when I'm buying right now. But the loan, let me go to the appraisal next. The appraisal is what has to happen before the loan contingency is even listed. Because usually the loan contingency requires you to have an appraisal that meets the value of the contract, whatever's on the contract. If not, you're going to have to come up with a difference. And I'm going to break that down a little further in the presentation in a bit. But the other thing you want to deal with is the loan. So we try to get you underwritten so you can come in with 0 days contingency on the loan. Why is that important? Because in today's market, the loans, if something's fallen out of contract, it's because of the loan usually. And so we want to make sure that that loan is not going to have a hiccup in it. whatsoever. So we want you vetted completely with your lender. Okay, going on to the next one. So keep in mind, guys, that this is usually interactive, but I'm just kind of showing you the verbiage that we use. So now let's go next. We're going to show you some real examples of this. What happens if you don't meet appraisal? So a lot of people don't get that explained to them. So we want to make sure you understand all aspects of putting an offer in. So say this is $1 million purchase price. You got in contract for $1 million. Your down payment is $200,000, 20%. So your loan is naturally $800,000. Next scenario. So let's take a look at case one. The house is listed at $900,000. You get a winning offer of $1 million, and it appraises at $1 million. Yahoo! Guess what? You still have the same loan value. You're fine. No additional money needed. Now let's go to the next scenario. In this one, you just got a winning offer of $1 million, but it only appraised at $950,000. So I want you to look to the right there, in orange. It says the planned loan minus the new loan equals the additional down. So the planned loan was $800,000, but now it is the 80% of $950, right?
Yep.
So the 80% of the new loan is going to be, I'm sorry, the new loan amount is $760,000. So the old loan was $800,000, the new loan is now $760,000. And so you've got to come up with $40,000 extra. Oftentimes people think that, oh no, I've got to come up with more. It's actually percentage that you're dealing with. So the required down payment equal the planned down payment. What do you have down there? The required down payment equals the planned down payment?
Plus the new down payment.
Yeah.
The new loan.
So $200,000 plus the $40,000 is what they have to come up with, right? So you've got to prep your people for stuff like this, if this happens, because the price of homes are going way, 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 outside of what, the last home sold for.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go on to the next one. So on the right, in the red, we've highlighted this because this is what's happening right now. The other markets that you're looking at over here, the buyer's market and the balance market, not happening. What's going on right now is that we're going over list. There's no contingencies. Sometimes it's 15 to 21 day close. Actually, we're still seeing 30-day closes, and that's okay. We're seeing 30% down and up. I've actually got somebody in that 20%, as long as it was the highest dollar. You want to put down a 3% earnest money deposit, and we talked about what that is. And if you have questions about it, we just ask for questions along the way. The condition of the house is as is. You're taking it just as it is. And rent back, usually complimentary. Actually, that should be up to 29 days. So it is 30 days. It is 30 days, but you have to use two different forms if you're doing 30 days. If you do up to 29 days, you can use a form called SIP. But if you do 30 days, you have to use the SIP plus the RLAS. Yeah, RLAS document. Okay, next one. Market update. So that's not what we show. I will show you the one that we show. But anyways, let's go back. Mine is a little different, but let's go back to that previous one. The next one. There you go. So what we try to show here is that at the beginning of the year in January is when it starts out as the lowest price point. And then normally it climbs to about May, June, and then it starts to slip again. But what we've been seeing happening over the last couple of years is something very different. Keep going. So I replaced that slide, by the way, with Mark's morning listing club's slide. And that slide just shows the reality of the market as to how few houses there are in the market. That's what I've replaced mine with. The interest rate, this is really great because a lot of people complain, the interest rate's going up. Really? Because back in the 1980s, they were 18% for a short-lived period, but they were crazy, right? Brian often tells the story, you know, that his parents bought a house, 40-something thousand, or
Yeah, 40,000.
$40,000 house at 18%, right? That's played out well for them though, because of the 40,000. So anyways, you want to show people that, you know, historically, our interest rate is at the lowest it's ever been. So you should be buying a house now if you can. Let's go next. So Alex and Lisa, how can I win with you? What I mean by that is, you know, what's important to you? One of the things, and how can I lose with you? So if you look at the bottom here, you will understand what you get with me, but I really want to know what bothers you or what you absolutely need to have. I think we had a client once say, you know, honesty. Look, if I catch you lying to me one time or stretching anything, I'm going to lose trust in you. So we're going to, and so I look at them and I go, we're going to give you the truth, whether you like it or not. We're going to make sure that you're getting honesty from us. We had another client, Momo, and it was her boyfriend said something to us that really bothered him about people. I'll have to think of it, but I've never heard anybody just be so blatantly honest with us before. But a lot of people really want you to be truthful with them. So the more honest they can be with you, the better it is. Some people talk about timeliness. Don't be late for the appointments. If you show up late for my appointments, I don't like to be held waiting. There are people like that. So you want to know what really triggers them, right? What's going to win with me? What's going to cause me to lose with you, right? So I just let them know, well, you're going to get, I'm a knowledgeable professional. You know, I'm committed to make sure I'm negotiating on your behalf. And like I mentioned to you up front, we have systems in place that really work and that are tried and true for all of our clients. And you also have the backing of our entire team, right? As well as a trusted broker in Keller Williams, right? So next one, take out Silicon City next time. So we've got to change ours to say Santa Clara Valley. So something that most agents overlook that we want to talk to you about is the intangibles. What makes you stand out? So I will tell you the offer package, we present it in a very unique way. We're going to pull it up and show you what we do. We normally tell a story with a letter. Now, letters are a little bit tough because today we're being told that many listing agents would rather not see a letter, and also our associations have also told us that they do not want letters in transactions. So we're going to have to come up with something creative, something else that's creative to do. We also want to match the seller's needs. So for example, I walk around the house and I look for any sign of a cat or a dog. So if they love cats and dogs, we're going to play upon that a little bit. I look at the stuff in their gardens. This is all when we were writing letters. I would look for all of these things, right? And then I say to the realtor, tell me why they're leaving. You know, why are they moving out of the area? We may find things in common, like, you know, maybe we're from the same area. For the sellers and buyers on this last transaction I did, the buyers actually did write a letter, and they did want to point out that they came from the same areas. But you know, as nice as all those letters matters, there's two things that really matter to the client. Top dollar, that's what matters. If you take a letter, folks, and you choose that person, and they did not have the top dollar, somebody can come back and question you and also try to sue you and say you didn't choose them because of their race, because of the fact that they're from a foreign country, or they look like they're from a foreign country. Now, here's what I think is kind of silly about that. I can pretty much tell by a lot of people's name where they're from. That's just, unless you're using an Americanized name, right? We can usually tell where somebody's from if they're using their real names on a contract, and you have to in a contract. So I debunked some of that, but I do understand where they're coming from, because the reality is that you've seen a lot of prejudice in this world. And so you want to be careful and you want to protect your client. I have some dear friends who are a lesbian couple, and they did not want to show a picture of themselves as a lesbian couple because they've been, they've experienced prejudice before. So, I said to them, but, both of your names are on the contract. And so they might see them though as sisters or something like that. So you gotta be careful with these letters. They say don't do it, so just follow the rule. So anyways, you stand out by being thorough and complete in your documentation, the package you're sending over. Next one. One thing we want to point out about is new construction homes. If you like new construction home and you're driving by one, you may be tempted to go in and just go, take a look. What they're going to do to use this? They're going to say, okay, let's fill out a piece of paper. And once you fill out that document, they represent you. We cannot just jump in now and represent you. We just can't do it. Why I think it's important that we represent you is because we want to make sure we're saving you money, that you're not getting upgrades that you don't need. And we want to really make sure that it's facing the right directions for you and that it is meeting all your needs and requirements. We've spent the time with you to understand that. They have not. You've just walked in and they're going to show you what's available to you. So maybe there's 2 or 3 new home constructions that we can take you to. So we really want to make sure that we're there to protect you. So please, if you drive by a new home construction, get me on the phone. First of all, see if I'm available to come in or somebody on our team. But if not, we're going to set up an available time that will work for all of us, and we're going to get over there with you, and we're going to sign in with you. I have to sign in. I have to give them my business card. I'm that honest, guys. I tell them every bit of what's needed. And I said, but once you do that, I have to step back. I can't represent you. Now they're the agent for you. So it's really important on new home constructions that you call me if you see anything that you drove by and you're curious about. I will get all the information for you, get you an appointment, and we will meet out there. Is that understood? Yes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, next one. So you notice we're covering everything. The next thing we do is we go to disclosures, right? So Brian, I'm going to see if I can actually hop back in and share my screen here. Because this part here, what Brian does is he shows, the other thing we do is we go over disclosures with you, and we will do a disclosure review with you. So these are how many disclosures you have to go through. It's a lot of them. How many is that, Brian?
22.
There's 22 disclosures. If you've never done this before, even if you've done this before, it could have been a while, and we know what we should be looking for. So it is your responsibility to go through all of the disclosures yourself. You're actually responsible for this. But of course, we recognize that we are the experts, so we're going to come alongside you and guide you with this. So I quickly pull up this next to it. So I don't know, Brian, if I can do this now, but I'm going to try. So what I do now is I pull this up and I say, okay, we've got Disclosure IO right here. And in Disclosure IO, this is where I can get all the disclosures for you. I can download them in here and we can just review it. And the great thing about these times is we can do this online. Okay, so wait a minute, these are listings. Let's go to buyers. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this first one here. They're pretty much all the same, but these are all the documents that you have to go through. Imagine having to do this and you've never done this before. So what I do is I walk them through it. I tell them what a prelim is. I go to the natural hazard disclosure and I said, let's go through it. I point this out. I tell them what the map's about. I tell them, okay, it looks like this property is located here. Fortunately, you're not in the flood zone. This is great. That would have cost you some extra money. I go through this as well and I say, okay, sometimes you see these little sites, fortunately they aren't in here. I would go through and say, the little tanks that you see that are around here, these are what they call the leaking underground storage tanks. And you can see it's all down here, guys. So you get used to doing this and just walking them through it and knowing what's important. I say to them, look, you want to look for everything that says yes. It says it's an area of potential flooding. Okay, that's not a great concern, and here's the reason why. This is what I say. It's not a great concern because it's not requiring you to have flood insurance. Now, if this was checked here, we got to get you flood insurance, and that's going to be more expensive for you. So we kind of go through all of this all the way down. We tell them that it's really important to, we tell them there's a home inspection and a pest inspection. So we actually walk through every bit of this with them. We go to the pest we go to all the disclosures and signatures, and we tell them this. Now, there are 2 documents in here that are of a real concern. There's that not a real concern. I say there are 2 documents that have to be filled out by the seller. It's the real estate transfer disclosure statement, also known to us as the TDS, and there is a seller property questionnaire. So I go through this with them and I say, this informs you of everything that's on the property. What we want to go through is look for anything that says yes in here. Check everything, but anything that says yes should have an explanation right below. So we want to go over that. We're going to go through all the documents. We're just going to keep doing that. We want to do the same thing again with the SVQ, etc. So you can see what I'm doing in doing this is I'm saying I'm just overwhelming them just a little bit. I stop right here and I go, so this is what it looks like, right? So when the time comes and you choose your house, I will download for you all the disclosures, and I will set up a Zoom call and we'll just go through it if you have questions. If you prefer to go through it first on your own, that would be fantastic. And then anything you have questions on highlight it and we'll go through it. But remember, I'm the expert here, so I want to make sure that I am giving you the explanations that you need. So then we bow back out of it. I stop sharing. Now we're back at Brian's again. And Brian, you say, you back? So what we're doing here is we don't go through the whole thing. We just are showing them, look, there's a lot of disclosures. I probably pull up one disclosure and show them and say, we want to make sure you understand what you should be looking for. So let's go to the next one. So here's a sample of the way we present an offer. We do not just attach the, we just don't attach the RPA, the residential purchase agreement, and send it over. It's not that I've never done it, but this is the way we typically do it. We put down the offer is submitted to, from, do you have the next page or no? The next page says this, right here, we break down everything. So on one page, they know exactly what they're looking for. Next. Then we break down what's attached in the document, the next. And that's it. I will tell you that a lot of people are asking you to submit through Disclosure.io, so you don't, a lot of this isn't necessary. But we still tend to kind of make things really pretty. Prior to the pandemic, we presented in person. That's how we gave our clients an edge. We would call the listing agent up and say, hey, Alan Wang, this is Yvette Petersen. I'd like to present my offer in person. What times do you have available? Alan might say, I'm too busy, just email it over. Say, fantastic. You know what we do? We courier over, and Kenny, do you have a copy of an old one anywhere at
Yes,
all?
on my desk.
Did you grab it? Sure. So Kenny's gonna grab it so that you can take a look at what we normally do, but we would courier over a beautifully bound.
Oh, I don't have it bound.
Oh, you don't have that? Okay, a beautifully bound offer package like this with all the contracts in between, and we would drop it off, and then I can't tell you how many times people have been so impressed with what we've done. Another way I want an offer, which you guys might want to try some of this, is really listen to what's going on with the buyer. One of the ways I won an offer was by a simple $84 gift. What I did was this. I sent over the offer and I sent over attached to it a certificate for the sellers to use for it was an annual pass to every single national park in the country. And the reason why we did that, they were about to sell the house, buy a huge RV, and travel the country with their 2 kids, homeschooling. She was a principal here. She and her husband were going to homeschool the kids and take them throughout the United States and just travel. And what I did was I thought to myself, go online, research, and I got it, and I said, look, if we don't get the offer, it's okay, but we would just love for them to have this anyway. They chose us because of that, and they wrote that down. They said, just your thoughtfulness. I got to tell you, people are trying all kinds of things right now to get their people in contract. It still mattered. We were not the highest offer. We were the second highest offer, but they chose us. So, okay, let's go to the next one. So, people want to know what's next. And I think we're going to change this to just call it what's next instead of frequently asked questions. So once your offer is accepted, what do we do? The first thing we do, we have this amazing transaction coordinator. Her name is Mabo, and she sends out a transaction summary timeline. So we're going to give you a timeline of every important date that you have to hit between now and close of escrow. So that's going to keep you on track, and we're going to follow up with you on those dates. And also, if you have any questions, give us a call. You know, if you get a little nervous and you look freaked out, give us a call. This is not abnormal. So you want to tell them all this so that they know that they're not crazy and they don't think that, oh, it doesn't feel right, then I need to get out of this. Say, no, everybody that goes through this has never done it before gets nervous. Don't worry about it. So it's about keeping them calm. Next one, Brian. So that's our presentation. We're committed to you. So do you have any questions? Yes? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Is there any reason then why you wouldn't want to choose me? If I've answered all your questions, it seems like this is a good fit. Should we just go ahead and get ready to start working together right away? Usually they say yes. Brian and I did a listing presentation, or was it, no, a buyer's presentation with Amy and Andrew. Remember that one? Where right up front, good cop, bad cop, we could see it. Andrew was just like the calm, yes, I will do anything, wonderful guy. Amy was like right up front, she says, by the way, we're not making a decision today. That's the first thing she said to me. We're not making a decision today. We're going to interview a couple of the agents. I said, fantastic, let me take you through it. Took her through it, and at the very end I said to her, have we answered all your questions? Absolutely. Anything outstanding, anything you need answered, anything you feel uncomfortable with? Nope. Well, fantastic. It looks like we're in agreement. You would be a good fit for us, and I think we'll be a good fit for you. So any reason why we shouldn't just sign up to get going on looking for homes? She looked at him, he looked at her, and she goes, no, let's do it. So the person who walked in and said to us right up front, there's no way I'm signing up today. If you remove every obstacle and you're checking with them at every page, I answering the questions. And you could tell she was just getting calmer and calmer. And then she said, yeah, let's do it. We got them in a $1.7 million house. It ended up being a new construction. And we didn't end up having to do a ton of work behind it. But still, we were prepared to do the job and go the miles with them. So that's it. We promised that we would give you a real live example of our presentation. Do you guys have any questions for us? All three of us will unmute and answer your questions.
There was one question someone typed about Disclosure.io, if they need to pay for the subscription.
No, so you do not. So when you're a buyer's agent, let me go back to that. When you are a buyer's agent, where was Disclosure.io? Is that it here?
Sorry.
When you are, oh man, I hate. Sorry, guys. This bounce. When you are a listing agent, here it is. When you're a buyer's agent, it automatically allows you to access Disclosure IO. I'm pretty sure, is that true? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So all you have to do is go online and copy the link out of the MLS, and the MLS has the disclosures, right? Now, if you're a listing agent, you want to pay for it. So right now I've got 2 listings up. Actually, there's a 3rd one coming up tomorrow. But we also have, I've got 16,
You're not showing your screen.
oh, I'm not showing my screen. Okay, I am not showing my screen, sorry. Hold on, I'm trying to show my screen. Let me see if I can do this again. Which one is it? There. Okay. So when you pull up your disclosure link on the MLS, it will take you here. And then you can just click on the link that came in and you can then look up all of the disclosures. You don't pay for that as a buyer's agent, right? The person who's paying for it is the listing agent. So if you're a listing agent, you want to get this, right? So right now we have 2, oh, no, this one actually just closed. So we have Washington Street and we have an Acacia coming on in Sunnyvale. But what I do is I archive them as we finish up with them. So these are some of the, these are the 1, 2, 3, we've closed these 3 this year. And then you can just upload all of your data. So you can see right now, let me go back into it. You can see right now that on Washington Street, we're just uploading the disclosures. We're just uploading them right now, okay? For the agents. So no, you don't have to. Is there another question, Brian?
Some people asked if they can get a copy of our presentation.
Yes.
And just one point of feedback, some people are saying 3 hours is a long time to sit in one stretch. Next time we have a 5-minute break.
Absolutely, I'll break it up next time. Actually, it does tell us that it's from 9 to 12. So sorry about that. That is what we were told. Anyways, we are wrapping up now. We've got the whole thing completed. And if you guys have any questions, give us a holler.
Yvette, I have a question. You mentioned the lead sheet. What's that?
The lead sheet is, we showed it in our presentation. I think it was page 4. I don't know if you can pull it up, Brian.
Is that the one with the questions?
So what we can do is this. If you want the lead sheet, go into your KW Connect Facebook page and look under files.
Okay.
And search
Thank
for
you.
lead sheet. It's in there.
Yeah.
That's where I pulled it from.
Okay. And I was wondering if there could be a class. I know you went briefly through the disclosures, but could there be a class where you can go into more detail on the disclosures and how do you explain them to buyers?
Sure, I think that's a class for Mark Burstein as the coach and more importantly as a broker.
Okay.
I think there's a class for Mark Burstein. So Mark's here. He just walked by us earlier. So we will talk to him about that and get that on the radar sometime in the next few months.
Thank
so
you.
That people have that. So yeah, anytime you guys need classes, always, just toss it out like you're doing here or go to your team leader and say, I'd love to see a class in this particular thing. Okay. Any other questions? I know it's a lot of information, you guys. One of the things I hate is when people tell you, just kind of walk you through the same old, the same old stuff where they just go, here's how you put together a buyer's presentation, but they never use that presentation. So we want to just show you ours and how we kind of explain it. Okay?
Yvette, I do have a question. Your presentation is includes absolutely everything. Do you tell them ahead of time how much time you need from them to get?
Yeah, so we do so that they know, and we usually say about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. is a good time frame. I don't think it's a good idea to say 60 minutes and then stretch it to 90 minutes. That's horrible. You know, you got to set their expectations from the very beginning. So we say 90 minutes. And because I'm explaining to you guys, it's a little bit different, but normally it's a little bit more less formal. And I'm very conversational in my presentations as I'm walking through. And I laugh a lot with them because I want to put them at ease.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Kenny.
So
Thank you, Brian.
we're tasked with doing a couple things. You want a copy of our presentation. And so we will actually send you the, I'm going to actually clean up 2 pages on it, and we will promise to get it out to you today. And we will send it through a Dropbox probably, and we'll put it on the Facebook page so you guys can access it. Anything else?
Just thank you for a marvelous job. Wonderful presentation. Thank you all three.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. We really love being here at Keller Williams, and we just love being able to share, and we love that we have 2 wonderful offices that we can, share with. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks everybody for showing up today. We really appreciate you, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Email address is kenny@petersenrealtyteam.com and Yvette, that's YVETTE @petersenrealtyteam.com. Those of you that want more information from us, email us there, but we'll make sure we get that up on Facebook today. Is that okay?
You guys are
Sounds
rock
perfect.
stars.
Yep.